Guys, in today's lesson we are going to create our first API using Strapi. Before we get started, make sure you have Postman being installed. If you don't have it, just go to postman.com to download the app. Postman is a way of making requests to our server, for example making post, delete and update requests. Okay, for me, I have mine already been installed over here, and this is how it looks like. Okay, I have mine already been installed. So the next step is let's go to strapi.io and let's follow the documentation of how you go by Strapi. Okay, so next step is make sure you have your terminal being open here and navigate into your folder structure. Folder, for me, I have my folder here as Strapi guide, and this is where I'm going to create my first Strapi project. Okay, so now let's follow the documentation and see how you can start our project. It's better to get familiar with the documentation, so in case there is any break changes or any updates, you can know where you can find yourself. Okay, so the first step is we are going to create our first Strapi project, and the first command is called install Strapi and create a new project. Okay, we have two commands to use, either use yarn or npm or npx. So you can use npx create -strapi dash and then the name of your project and give it a flag called quick start. Okay, for me, I use yarn, so I'll stick to yarn create Strapi app my project. So inside my folder, I will run yarn. Let me make it bigger. Let me clear the console one more time. I will say yarn create space Strapi hyphen app and then the name of my project. I'll make it to do, let me say I'll make it to do API. Make it simple, to do API, and I will give it a quick start. I'll explain this one. Quick start. Okay, when you give it a flag called quick start, you are telling Strapi that you should install the default configuration, for example database. Remember, I forgot to tell you, Strapi can use any kind of MongoDB, any kind of database. So by default, Strapi uses what is called SQLite database. Okay, so if you want to stick to Strapi default, give it a quick start. But if you want to install your own database like Mongoose or MongoDB, you don't need to give it a quick start. But for simplicity's sake, let's stick to quick start, and as you progress to this course, I will show you the way of installing your own database with Strapi. So now let's hit enter and let's wait while it is doing the magic. Building up all the authentication, everything. Now we are ready to go. Alright, our installation is done, and the most surprising part is that as soon as it finishes, it opens a web browser to our page for us. Okay, as soon as it finished installing, you will see this information to confirm that yes, everything is okay. And one more thing, create your first administrator by going to it. Okay, so when you navigate into this URL, this is the port Strapi has given to us, and we can change it. I told you Strapi, we can customize whatever you want. Okay, so now this is the URL that Strapi has given to us, the ports, that is port 1037/admin. So next step is that you have to create, look here, create your first administrator. So now let's click on this link, and then we have this interface. Okay, so now let's register administrator. That is the next step. I'll make it email and then my password. Okay, and then I'll say ready to start. Excellent. We have successfully installed Strapi. So the next step is, let me take you around and take you around to explore most of the tools here. And I may not tackle all these things at once. As you proceed through this course, I will take you through how each of these works. But for the meantime, I just wanted to know the basis of Strapi. Okay, so what we see here is called collection types. Okay, collection types is, if you have worked with MongoDB before, you can say it's a collection, and if you have worked with SQL before, you can say it's a table. Okay, and by default, Strapi has created one collection type for us called users. Okay, so it means that we are going to save all users into this collection type. When you open it here, you can see we have a couple of fields called IDs here, username, email, confirmed, and when you click this G icon, you can see the additional field of this user. You can have blocked, created, password. When you click, to appear here as well. All right. So take collection type as a collection in MongoDB and table in MySQL. That is how you should take it. Okay, that is how it works here. So I'll tackle them one by one. So the next step is that let's come here under plugins. The plugins are the additional functionalities Strapi has given to us by default to make our life easier. So one is called the content type builder. You use the content type builder to create collection types. Okay, so it's a tool to model our users or collection or the schema. Okay, so we'll take it like that. And the media library is where we store images, videos, and other stuff. And role permissions is giving access who's supposed to do this and that, role permission. And when it comes to general here, we have what's called marketplace. When you click marketplace, you can see that we have a couple of plugins here called content type manager that has been installed by default, and builder by default, role permission by default, documentation, no email, other stuff here. So you can play around with it. And one cool thing is that Strapi also supports GraphQL. It's not only REST, so you can use GraphQL also with Strapi. Okay, so for now, let's take it like that, and I'll take you around. I'll explain more of that as you proceed in this course. Okay, so next step is that, so for us, we are going to create our to-do API. We ask yourself that what kind of collection you are going to create. So our collection will be to-do. Okay, so let's use content type builder to create our to-dos. So this is the tools you are going to use every single time you are going to work with Strapi. So now let's open and see what is there. Look here, you can see by default we have these three collection types: permission, role, and user. Okay, I'll come back to this later on. So for now, under here we call this called single type, and create new single type, and then component. I'll work you through that one too. So for now, let's create our first collection type. The first collection type is called configuration. Display name is the name of our collection type, and we will call this one to do. Okay, to do. Remember, always your collection type must be singular. Okay, and Strapi will add s to it. That will make you be that will be our endpoint. So always remember that collection type is always singular. Okay, and let's click. Let me make it a little bit smaller and continue here and come to this one. We have these fields: text, rich text, number, date, boolean, relation, email, password, enumeration, media, gist, and UID. Take this one. This is a way we are going to model or the schema, okay, of our collection. So take this one as a string. If you have worked with MongoDB, I always say this one will be a string. Okay, if anytime you want to maybe feed your server with string API, you use what is called text, and the rect text is also a string, but this one will give you additional functions like able to format your text, bold, and other stuff. And this is a number field. If you want to save numbers, it should be number, and date, boolean, relation. This is the most important part, and I'll talk about it later on. Email, if you want to save email, password, and enumeration here is let's say that to give you a list of values and you pick some out of it. So for example, if you are creating an app for a school, okay, and school for registration, and a field, maybe a student may register for maybe a department, okay, maybe the person chose either computer science or chemistry, whatever, and the person will pick out of. So anytime you want to handle such data, use what is called enumeration. And media to also for uploading files, images, and other stuff, and JSON file also work with it. So now for our case, we are not going to use much of this, okay, but we will use almost all of them as we proceed to this course. Okay, so now let's select text, and let's give our this model a title. So that's a title here, and this is how we are making schema, we are modeling our data. Okay, when it comes to advanced here, you see that it give a couple of validation here. Is it a private? Anytime you click on private, it means that this field title will not be visible to the user. Okay, so I'll make it, I don't want it to be private. And required field, that it means it shouldn't be empty, and unique, as the name implies, should be different, and you can give it maximum and a minimum length. Okay, so this validation schema here we can extend using if you're using Mongoose, we can use what is called Mongoose validation schema types. Okay, here, so for now let's stick to this the most common used ones. When you click add another field, the next field will be what, rich text. Maybe our to do, we need what is called the contents of our to do, and click on advanced. The same process, select required field, and that's cool. For now, that's what you want, and click save. When you click save, by default, as soon as we click save, Strapi is doing the magic for us by creating our schema for us. That is here. You can see here when you click on to-dos, now our to-do is empty. So now we can feed our to-do with information using the UI of Strapi. Okay, so at this point you can decide, for example, maybe if you are creating app for maybe your client, you can expose this interface to the client, and the client will be entering the data from here, and you can consume the data using your React or Angular or whatever. Okay, so for now, to make it very simple, let's start create our first to do. Okay, so before that, I'm lazy of typing, so let me use a dummy test here, and I'll grab this one from here and as be my content. Okay, so now our first title is this. Let me say read Node.js, and the content here will be this. Oh, it's too many. Let me delete these ones, and wow, it's too much. So you see this rich text are giving us bold, italic, and other stuffs. Okay, when you switch to preview, this is how it is like. So we have when you click save, we have made our first post request. Now we can consume this data using our React or any front-end framework. So for now, we are not going to connect this one to React or whatever framework, but we are going to use Postman to make the request. So open your Postman, okay, and we are going to make our first request. Okay, so the URL Strapi gave to us is http semicolon slash slash localhost colon 1037 slash. Okay, now you ask yourself, what will be the route of our to-do? Always remember that this will be our endpoint. Okay, so when you go to the home, for example, localhost semicolon 1033 and then slash to-dos. Okay, you're able to fetch all the to-dos from here. Okay, so to be able to know all your endpoints, come to role and permission. Now, I didn't tell you this. Anytime you're finished creating your collection type, make sure you come to roles and permission here. And roles and permission, as the name implies, you are going to give permission to users who are authenticated or not authenticated. For now, we have 2 roles. We can create additional roles here, but for now, let's stick to this default 2. So public means that a user who has not been logged into our system. So we are going to grant access to all users, okay, who have access to our to-dos data. So click on public here, and you can see here that under rows details, when you scroll down here under permissions, look here, this is our collection type you created. Okay, so you're going to give access to users to make account, request, create, delete, update, find one, and find. Okay, so to be able to know the route, just click on the check icon, and on the right hand side you can see get and slash to dos here. Okay, so this tells you that on the home route, on the home route slash to dos, it will fetch all our to dos. Okay, so now let's do that one. So now get request to be slash to dos, and then let's make this our body response here. Now let's make the request. Let's look at our response. The response says that forbidden. Here, status code 403, error forbidden and message forbidden. Why is it so? And this is what we are expecting to be. Because before we can have access to, you can grant access to users, make sure you grant access to those who are not authenticated to able to find or search our to-do. So now click on this icon here and click save. Excellent. Now let's come back to Postman here and then still make the request. You can see our data is voila. Here is it. How awesome it is. Okay, it's beautiful. So if you are working with, if you are going by Express or MongoDB, Node.js, or maybe by default, you have to connect to create your own server, connect to MongoDB, create your schema, connection type, and other stuff. And within a couple of minutes, we're able to make our first request, post and get request. How awesome it is. So let's move on and then create another request. Okay, let's go to dos and then let's create another to do here. Let me say going for lunch, and let me paste in my demi text here and click save. Okay, when I click save, come to Postman. When you make another request, you have to dos. Okay, awesome. All right, so if you want to hide the title from the user or the content, just come here, just come to the collection type here, collection content type, and click on to dos. And to dos here we have what is called a title. Click on the J icon, and you can see here, come to advanced section and make it private. Okay, so we are hiding the title field from the user. Okay, when you click save and let's see, make request, the title is gone. Okay, so how awesome it is. It's very easy to use. Okay, so the next step is let's make our post request using Postman. Okay, so you will make requests for post, delete, and update for this tutorial. Okay, so we have make our first request from our Postman. Okay, next one is let's make post request. In the same process, to be able to know the route where you are heading towards, come to roles and permission and come to public if you want to have public users, and then click on create. You see post/to-dos and click save. So when it comes to postman, instead of get is post request. Okay, /to-dos. Excellent. And remember, we are going to feed something to the server, so we are going to send data to the Strapi server. Okay, so click on raw and click on text and click on JSON, and then let's feed in using the JSON format. Our first field is called title. Okay, and I'll make it, may say, playing, and the next field is called content. Okay, the content will be, let me say, having fun, like so. Okay, click save, and let's look at the response. Excellent, it's here. So now if you go back to Strapi, and you can see to dos here. Now we have going, playing, awesome, added. And if you make the request to dos, let's change to get and make the get request. You can see our to dos has been also added. Wow, it's here having fun. Okay, so that is for post and get request. The next one is delete request. And delete, before you can make delete request, you need to have what is called params. Okay, you pass the ID of the data you want to delete. Okay, so when you come to dos here, you can see that we have 3 entries. Okay, when you click on go for going for lunch, you can see our app ID, and where is our ID of this. Okay, so when you make the request to the get endpoint, you can see that get, where is it, where is my body? Here we have the ID being created for us, and we can see we have additional field called created art and updated art here. Okay, so you're going to find the ID of this request and to make our delete request. Okay, so remember, you are going to delete the first one called, sorry, I've hide the title, so let me bring it back. Okay, come to content type, title, and then advanced, and uncheck private here. I want to make it visible when I make the request. Okay, so now our title is back. So we're going to delete this one, read node.js. Okay, and the ID is 1. So all what you need is that to able to know the route, I will say go to the raw and permission, public, and then delete. Click on this and click save, and look at the route, delete /to-do/id. Okay, so when you come here, instead of get is what, delete. Okay, and delete, you need to pass in the ID. Okay, so /1 represent the first one, and when you make the request, you can see our body, this one has been deleted. So if you want to make sure it has been deleted, let's make the get request again. By going get, you can see we have only 2 remaining. We don't have the going read node.js. You can see we have going for lunch and then playing. Excellent. That is how what a delete request works. And the next one is update. Okay, same process. Come to run permission and then check the route. Update, you can see is put request /to-do/id. Okay, so here we still need the ID. Let's update the content of this one. It's too long, it's too long, so let's change this one, the content, to be let's something like that. Okay, so let's make the put request, and then we want the ID of this one, which is 2, and we are going to send something to the server, but we don't want to the title. I only want to update the content, so I'll make it yeah yeah. Okay, make the request forbidden, because anytime you will encounter this problems anytime you are working with Strapi. It's not a problem, but because sometimes I used to forget. Anytime you want to make requests, make sure you grant access to whether the user is authenticated or not. So now let's click update and click save. Okay, now let's come back to Postman and then make the request again one more time. You can see our request now. Yeah. So when you go back to get requests, you can see that it's now, yeah, excellent. How cool it is. So within a couple of minutes, we are able to create our server, connect MongoDB, data modeling, schema, post route, get route, delete route, and other stuff. How awesome Strapi it is. So in the next tutorials, I'll walk you through how to make authentication with Strapi. This is just the beginning. We will make a couple of applications using Strapi and see how beneficial it is.